Hello everyone, Lucky Arduino here, and today I'm going to be showcasing my alarm system project. So basically, this alarm system works with many different components, which is why I am labeling it as a hard difficulty project. So first you have the distance sensor right here, which tracks distances up to 300 units, and when something comes in between those 300 units, it will send a signal to the Arduino, which then controls all the rest of the components. So then we have the LCD display here. As you can see, it's displaying all clear right now, and it will display some other things once I demonstrate the project. And here we have some LEDs, green and red, and green will light up when it is all clear, and red will light up when it is not all clear. Over here you have a potentiometer. This controls the contrast of the LCD display. Over here you have a buzzer, which will sound when something comes in between the distance sensor. And over here you have an IR receiver, which controls this IR remote right here, which I'll be using to type in the password to this alarm system. And here I have another component so that I can control my Arduino using a battery instead of connecting it to the computer. All right, and so basically the basis behind this project is that you attach this to your wall, and you have it is basically a security system for you, and you have to type in the code every time you enter, which is really good because if there's an intruder in your house and they're not able to type in the code, then it will call the police, right? And so the point of this is to create an Arduino version of a real world technology component already. And so let's get to demonstrating it. So this is the first scenario where you are like the owner of the home, and you actually know the code and are able to type it in. All right, so I'm going to simulate it using my hand. There, door breach. So the buzzer sounds, the LED turns red, the LCD display displays door breach. Now the code is 5036, and it's all clear again, right? And then you have the second scenario where it's an intruder that doesn't know that doesn't know the code, and it doesn't know that there's an alarm. So let's simulate it again. There you have a door breach. Let's say I type in the wrong code, 5035. Uh-oh, wrong code, right? And this says wrong code, calling the police. All right, let's take a look at some of this code. So first we have the library for the LCD, which is called liquidcrystal.h, and then we have the library for the IR remote, which is irremote.hpp. And then you have the different variables for the LCD, as you can see right here, initializing the LCD with RS enable D4, D5, D6, and D7. And this basically just refers to the different ports that you use for it. So then you have the buzz port, green and red port for the LEDs, trig and echo for the distance sensor, and IR for the IR remote. So here we set up our pin modes and our different code segments. So first we have buzz output, so that's our buzzer. Green and red are obviously output LEDs. Trig and echo are different. So trig is an output, which is basically the ping that the distance sensor sends out, and then the echo measures the time at which the trigger comes back to the distance sensor, and that's an input, right? And then here we begin the LCD with 16 pixels to the right and 2 pixels in columns, right? So you'll have two rows of 16 is basically what this is saying. And then you begin our serial monitor for testing purposes. Um, you start the IR remote and IR receiver. Um, you set the cursor for the LCD and you print out all clear right here, right? And basically that's how you type out different things. I'm setting the, I'm not sure why that was there, but I'm setting up the LEDs here as well. And then we reach our void loop function. So I've set up a count variable here, which will be used later. This code sets up the distance sensor. For every time the loop runs through, it'll check the distance to make sure it's not less than 300, right? And this is my if condition, a really big one, right? So if travel time is less than 300, which is basically the distance, and travel time is greater than 0, right? Because sometimes if the distance is too far, the distance will turn negative for some reason with these components. So you have to add that in there, right? And then if that is true, that means that there's something there. Then it'll print this on the LCD, turn the red LED high, and then wait for an input, right? So while the input is waiting, the buzzer will turn on, and then it's clicked, and you resume the IR receiver, and then it checks for 5, right? This statement is checking for the number 5 that you pressed on your IR remote. And if that is true, count will increment up 1, and then it'll wait again, turn on the buzzer again, and then it'll check for the next number, 0. Then it'll wait again, it'll turn on the buzzer again, and I think you get the point, right? So it goes 3, and every time this happens, count increments, right? And for the last one, 6, only count will increment. We don't want it to wait for another number because we're not going to put it in another number, right? And at this point, count should be 4. So we check for count equals 4. And if count is equal to 4, then buzzer will turn off. You print out all clear again, and you turn on the green LED, and the loop restarts all the way back to the beginning. Else, which is if the count is not 4, it'll say wrong code, calling the police. The red LED will stay high, and this is for the buzzer to go up to 50 while the police arrive, right? 50 times this will buzz. And so basically how I've set this up is actually if you type a single number wrong, then it will call the police. Because you see here, if you go down here, you wait. If this is not true, if you press something other than 5, then it won't run through any of these other if loops, and instead will jump straight to this condition. And since count won't equal 4 at that point, it will go right here to this one, and it will be the wrong code. Same goes for, let's say you get through 5 and you get through 0, but then you type in 4, right? So then it'll say, nope, that's wrong. It'll skip through this if loop for checking for 6, and then it'll go here, and at this point count will be 3. No, count will be 2, right? Because it never went through 3. So it'll do 5 and 0, so that'll be count equals 2, right? And that's not true, right? So then it'll go through else, and it'll say wrong code, calling police, right? And so basically, that's the way I've set up the code. And it could be set up in a different way by creating all of these if loops separate to each other, where I would take the while loop out, this while loop waiting for an input, I would take it out and wait for each number, but I decided to do it this way so that it would be more efficient for the code to work in case of a wrong code, in case of a wrong input from the IR remote. And so basically, this code is also one of the main reasons why this project was rated as such a hard difficulty, because it's pretty complicated, right? And really all of these components that you're managing and everything that you're doing here requires a good understanding of coding and the way and the relationship it has with Arduino. All right. All right. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed watching this project and how its coding works and how it runs. If you would like to see more projects like this, go to my website, which will be linked in the description, and I will show it right here so that you can visit it and see easier projects, some medium difficulty projects, and pretty hard projects like this one. And as you can see, the wires got a little bit messy with this one, but definitely this project looks harder than it is, especially in terms of wiring and coding. And really, if you have that central understanding of how coding works and how Arduino works, this actually would make sense to you, right? Like, take for example the LCD display. It has a ton of pins, right? But if you know what each of these pins represent, it's really easy to make all of these connections, even if they look confusing to you at first. Thank you so much for watching this video once again. This is Lucky Arduino signing off.